Next up, we'll have a quick talk with Taneli Tikka. We're going to stay in Asia with Taneli. He's going to tell us a little bit about his ventures. And I see you're dressed accordingly. Very nice of you. Welcome.
Thank you.
What are you doing right now? What is this? You told me about a domain thing in China. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, today I have my China outfit on, obviously. And for the past 5 years or so, there's been this startup project brewing in the background about getting global monopoly rights to Chinese domain names and top-level domain names. And we finally managed to get that going in September of this year. I mean, acquiring the monopoly rights. So basically now we are a startup pretty much centered around intellectual property of selling these domain names, both in China and in the West.
How on earth did you come up with this idea, and when did you come up with this idea?
Yeah,
you don't just wake up and think, I'm going to go and own some Chinese domain names, or how did this happen?
Yeah, the internet has kind of a Western peculiar history in a sense that it's originally pretty much regulated by the US Chamber of Commerce and has started obviously from .com and these kind of domains that everybody knows. And in 2008, 5 years ago, we read a newspaper article that now finally they are going to start giving out new monopoly rights to new domains, not just .com, but .whatever. And these new rights can be in any language. So finally, people who use Arabic or Russian or possibly languages like Hindi or Chinese, Japanese, finally they get to use the internet fully in their own language. And already 5 years ago, we thought that this must be an amazing opportunity. We have to apply for this thing. And originally we thought of applying for English language domain names only, and somehow along the way we ended up applying for 1 English language domain name and two Chinese domain names.
Do you have a local partner with you in that, or how do you see? I mean, I don't know how good your Chinese is, but how do you ensure that everything goes smoothly and like you think it's going?
Yeah, we obviously have to do a lot of research. That we have people in the team that do speak a little bit Chinese, but certainly not all. And just have to use experts, good people, and check everything like 10 times over just to make sure that it's absolutely correct. But yeah, it's doing something together with China is really kind of holistic. That there are so many details that associate with dealing with China, and it's almost like a world of its own that you have to concentrate on so many little things and get the whole package right.
So it's a big culture, or some culture differences there, I guess. How is the internet restriction affecting your business, or are you waiting for it to come down, this great firewall? Does it have anything to do with that?
Yeah, obviously they never say that the wall even exists, and so they say that the internet is free. But obviously there is a wall, and they're filtering out a whole lot of sites behind it. And that is, for the time being, it's not going down. That the internet censorship in China employs something like 1 million people, perhaps, and they have a massive amount of like live teams checking who's accessing what and cutting people off if it looks like the wrong kind of content. And they're so set in that they are maybe perhaps a little bit paranoid in the sense that they fear the consequences if they take it down. So at least for now, there's no talk of it coming down anytime soon, that they're just going to maintain that. And our small startup business kind of goes around that because China has given the authority to decide about domain names to this international organization ICANN, and we are actually accredited by ICANN, so we kind of bypass a lot of the regulation having to do with China in specific.
So you don't have to worry that your site where you sell these things will be shut down?
No, not at this moment, yeah. It'll be all right.
Okay. How is it then, the huge difference that when you're doing business, what do you have to keep in mind, or what was the problem that you faced when you first thought of this and started initiating it?
Well, something like this applying for global IPR monopoly rights, it's incredibly bureaucratic. So we had to go through the whole excruciating experience of writing a 600-page application per domain and paying.
What did you write in the application?
They ask all sorts of things, like all sorts of technical details, and they also ask a whole lot of policy questions, like once this thing is up and running, what's going to be on your policy regarding topic X, and you have to kind of describe your policies for hundreds and hundreds of pages. And you also have to pay quite a lot of money. Just to leave the application in costs about 180,000 US dollars, and then you have to have a lot of funding behind you to put in a completely sealed bank account to act as a guarantee against the application. So originally our startup, we had to apply a couple of million of funding just to get the application process going, and no idea yet is the application going through or not. And if it doesn't go through, we don't get all the money back. So it's kind of a massive upfront risk.
So sounds very, very, very risky, but you're not scared of risks. We've talked earlier before about failure. On this stage, we haven't talked about failure. What makes you so risk averse? Is it having hit the ground, or what keeps you going? Is it this optimism, or how do you deal in this very, very, very risky area?
I just think that people, they can either live in this kind of a fixed mindset that they consider that the circumstances and things that happen to them happen for some other reason than them themselves, or then they can have this growth mindset that no matter what kind of circumstances and misfortune they encounter, they have this adapt and overcome growth mindset. And as a young entrepreneur, my first company went bankrupt, and I ended up with a lot of debt that I had invested into that company, and pretty much lost everything and was in the red for a good 100,000 euros. And recovering from that experience, you don't relate to risk the same way anymore. That if it's just some company and it goes bankrupt, so what? It's not going to kill you, and so you think differently after that.
What did you do when you were in that fix with the 100,000 in the red and no company, no flat, no nothing? What was the next step? Thinking, where from here?
I've actually recently gone through this experience again, like remembering it again and thinking through what kind of activities I did at the moment of bankruptcy and right after it. For example, I obviously had to move away from my apartment because I had this really nice city apartment, like a CEO's bachelor apartment in the downtown of Helsinki, and no company, no money for the apartment, so I had to move out of that into the pretty much the shittiest place imaginable in Espoo. The place that has the cheapest rents and a lot of social problems associated with that place. It was Kirstinharju in Espoon Keskus. The Finns know the place, and it's not a good place. So I had to move there. And what did I actually do in my cheap rental apartment was that I kind of wrote down my values and my attitudes towards life. And I went through these 6 areas of life, considering my goals. That what do I want to achieve in life regarding physical health, regarding money, regarding social relationships, regarding intellectual growth and learning new things, developing my mind, regarding family things, and regarding like religious and moral things as well. And I had these categories in mind, and I sat there as a bankrupted young entrepreneur, deep in debt, no job, and exercised a lot. I went to the gym, and then I wrote down this stuff about the goals that I have in life, my values and my attitudes towards different things. And somehow from that process quite clearly came out the revelation that I'm not going to cheat, I'm not going to like leave the country or something like that, that I want to get back into the saddle, just start working again, start paying back the debt piece by piece, and then at some point I want to become an entrepreneur again. So it was kind of a really clear-cut case, and no other alternatives existed after that. That have to get back into the saddle, pretty much.
You told me sometimes that you even considered the French Foreign Legion or something like that too.
I did for a while. That I had a couple of friends from childhood and high school who had actually gone to the French Foreign Legion, And back in those days, they give you a new name and also a French passport. So after 5 years of service, you can come back as another person. So all the debt would have been left to the old identity, and this new identity would be debt clean. But I considered it for a while and didn't do it, even though it seemed exciting.
Well, I'm happy you didn't. What's an advice that you would give yourself? Maybe in that situation or maybe earlier?
Oh, if you consider the situation of running a company as a young CEO and the company sliding like slowly towards bankruptcy, to that situation I would have a ton of advice, like a million things I would want to say to myself and try to correct that direction. But the situation after it, I think everybody who finds themselves with this kind of misfortune, having lost it all financially and having to rethink their life, that is exactly what they should do. I think that there's even some research now that shows that when a person encounters this kind of hardship, if they return back to their values that they hold dear in life, that's an amazing source of strength, and they can actually grow from that and go through that exercise and survive out of that misery. But as a young entrepreneur sliding towards bankruptcy, I would completely advise myself, my younger self, to adapt the lean innovation models. That my company was partially bankrupted because it built everything in cycles that are way too long. Takes a long time, a lot of effort behind each cycle, and that is just a deathly situation, that you have to be quicker, you have to be leaner, and I would advise myself to take lean innovation models really, really seriously.
How much did they say that failing is better than an MBA or anything for your next company? How much do you have to do like the psychological part of it, like afterwards? Maybe you've done it now way later or a bit later. Or how did you said that you wrote your values. What else did you do to elaborate these things?
Well, I'm sure different people have different things that they just feel like work for them. What worked for me was this combination of exercising like hell. In the spring that we were sliding towards bankruptcy, the spring of 2002, I started the year as a guy who weighed 100 kilos. And by summer, when the company went bankrupt in August, I weighed 70 kilos. So I had come down 30 kilos in weight during one spring. And to me, it was a combination of exercising like hell, going to the gym, getting that like physical energy and physical frustration out of my system, and at the same time, like sitting quietly and considering my values and rethinking my life's goals and kind of recreating myself as a person and what I want to achieve in life and what I want to do. And can that future have anything to do with taking enormous amounts of risks, or should I play it safe? And I didn't listen to my relatives, for example. I didn't listen to advice of other people. I thought that this is a situation that none of my relatives have ever been in, so they pretty much can't help me, that I have to resolve this by myself. But this is, of course, I guess it's vastly different with different people, that some are so tight to their social circles and their relatives that they would listen to their relatives, but I just didn't. I just asked money from them, paid off my credit card debts with that money, and just considered things by myself.
What kind of advice do you seek now in these new ventures that you do?
Now I guess the primary type of advice that I seek is something that happens after a decision is made, after some project is executed, and then comes the time to look at the project in retrospect. Go through this retrospective exercise of kind of dismantling the project, considering where it succeeded and where it failed. And in this situation, I often talk with advisors, I talk with people who have done something similar, and I reflect together with them. We go through the retrospect together. And that I think is very, very useful in terms of learning. On the other hand, I use very little advice still before the moment a decision is made. That I don't use advisors for decision making that much. I use them more for retrospective stuff.
This is not your first time in Slush, right? Or is this your first time in Slush?
Not really. I've been to all of the Slushes, including the 2008 one.
So what would you say one has to do here at Slush? Give us some good tips. What's the best thing to do?
Carry around 500 business cards. Just talk to everybody, like everybody. Don't ignore any of the people here, and basically make yourself busy non-stop. Go stand in one of these corridor places where people move by you and just grab people from there and have chats and just be very, very active. I mean, it's nearly impossible to be able to close deals here and actually get something finalized in Slush, but you can open up a lot of doors here and take initiative in just getting the line of communication going with 500 people at the same time. So definitely use that opportunity. Network like hell.
Thank you very much, Taneli. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.